Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk here on the I Love CVille Network. Election day across the Commonwealth of Virginia with some polls and some races very tightly contested, including the race for governor with Mr. McAuliffe and Mr. Youngkin. We encourage everyone to get out and vote. As we highlighted before the program started, if you're just tuning in, the Charlottesville polls, the results not looking so hot so far at the 9 o'clock, the 9 a.m. block. 2,039 people have voted at 9 a.m. in the city of Charlottesville. You compare and contrast that to 2017, where 4,371 people have voted. I bring this to your attention just to encourage you to vote. We'll put that to a side for now. We have a lot to cover with Keith Smith and Quinton Beckham. Judah, if you could go to the studio camera. We have the distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith.
Yes.
And we have the president of CAR, Quinton Beckham. And we're going to chitter-chatter the Q3 2021 CAR report. Gentlemen, where do you want to begin?
Well, I think for the two people that probably don't know who Mr. Beckham is, you might want to introduce yourself for a second.
I'm Quinton Beckham.
This is going to be fun. So where do you want to jump off on this, Quinton?
I've got 36 more days as president of CAR this year, and then I get to pass the baton, as it were.
How does that feel?
It feels like 36 more days.
Who's the incoming president?
That would be Miss Pam Dent.
Oh, Pam Dent, hello.
Yep.
So similar to some of the questions that we were asking the candidates here, what was your top 2 or 3 accomplishments in your tenure, you think?
Oh, lorsh. Well, one, let's not say mine, because it's really a group effort. There's so many people that play in, and you get the pleasure of being at sort of the face and at the front of the crowd, but it's the entire crowd that's making things happen.
Sure.
So we've got some bylaws changes coming in how we elect people, all on the route towards transparency. That'll be going before the general membership, hopefully before the end of the year. We have the CAR Foundation, which is now an official 501c3 that we hope to be moving forward. And we have made it through the pandemic, and we are continuing to become a little more live as things go on. You know, it's you take on roles like these, we volunteer. You've been on volunteer boards before, and you think you know what's going to happen that year, and then you get something else.
Oh, man. I was having these conversations off air with some of the candidates coming in here, and, you know, it's amazing. You have this assumption this is the way it's going to be. Then you get elected, and then you find out how it's really going to be, because, you know, usually there's always, I think your predecessor, Tom, got hit with the beginning of COVID, and I think he
Love Tom Woolfolk.
Tom Woolfolk did a great job in holding everything together, because that was a pretty tough. I mean, he didn't see that coming, and then it came, and then you kind of kept it together and moved us to the hopefully on the other side of this. As for those who may or may not know, I am one of his board members on that, and we joke around about the benevolent dictator, but actually he is benevolent. But yeah, so you know,
Again, we're streaming the show at the KWA sales meeting right now.
Yeah, they're all sitting in. They're interested to hear the market report, maybe ask some questions.
Well, then why don't you do that? What does it tell you, Mr. President?
We have a market. It's still here. We have a market. I think when you first glance at the report, what you see is a lot of stuff looks flat, maybe even a little bit down in some cases. And it really does feel like we're trying to return to some kind of seasonality. If you remember, we're looking at year over year. So we're comparing this quarter to a quarter that was in the middle of the market insanity that was the pandemic. So maybe not the best comparison in the world, but it does really feel like if you go back in time, as we entered fall, things started to get wetter and colder, and working up towards the first freeze, which I think that frost warning is 2 nights from now, freeze warning. Things slow down. People settle in. They've bought houses. They're looking more towards holidays and family. A little fewer houses on the market, fewer people out looking to buy. And I think what we're seeing is, although the price level has changed and the inventory is much lower than what it was pre-pandemic, this feels a little bit like we're trying to get back to the normal tidal waves of the market that we're used to.
So it feels like, or is it actually getting that way? Is this?
Ask me in another 3 months.
There you go. Yeah.
Nothing's 100%, but it certainly feels that way when you look at this report and you go back 2, 3, 4, 5 years, this feels like we're trying to return to the normal seasonality that we used to have.
So do you see a spike in inventory coming, Quinton?
No. Where's it going to come from? I think one of the things that you also have to separate when you look at these is there is definitely stuff that happened from the pandemic. So the acceleration in home buyers, the rapid prices, the multiple buyer price wars, totally a pandemic-related item. The lack of inventory is not new. It's been coming down for 10 years. Since 2009, we have not built enough homes to keep up, and you can watch this steady decline. So although the pandemic accelerated that, the inventory is really a matter of just not getting enough homes built to go on the market to meet the demand.
Stephanie Rhodes, hello and welcome to the show. The family behind ISC, Neil Williamson, on the broadcast as we speak. If you guys have some questions and some comments you want to get on air, put them in the feed. Nicholas Erpy says, good morning. Bill McChenzie, hello and welcome to the broadcast. Johnny Ornalis, hello and welcome to the show.
Hey, Johnny.
So, no inventory, not in the near future. As we identified yesterday, thousands of new jobs being added to the market. UVA, Apex, the building across from Friendship Court, the computer company that's new that's bringing in a handful of workers. QB, Pam Dent, hello, welcome to the broadcast. We love you, Pam Dent. You were mentioned earlier in the show. Q1 and Q2 of next year, Mr. Beckham and Mr. Smith, what do you see playing out?
Well, as the report is saying, and that's the number I circled a couple of times, at the end, as of August, the unemployment rate was at 3.3%.
Which is fantastic.
Well,
Better than the state and better than the nation.
very
Yeah.
much so. So what do you think that is?
UVA.
I think we're a center of a lot of employment that just is not as subjected to the economic changes as other industries. So we still have certain subsets of unemployment that's going on, but in total, our employers are pretty solid even as the economies change, and we've seen that over and over in the city. I think part of why we have not been able to keep up is the fact that we don't have the surge in home buyers match the change in the economics. So we are on a pretty steady rise, regardless of what the economy is doing around us, and we have not kept up in development. I think on the upside in this report, we are seeing a return of developers. We're seeing a 33%, I want to say, off the top of my head. Somebody can correct me on that. But a lot of the permits that are being applied for are multifamily, higher density homes, whether those are rentals or for sale, and I think they are responding to that need. If you follow the median price of new construction, you'll see it came down.
Yeah.
Developers are trying to create products that speak to all of the different the median incomes across the area, and we just have to see those come to fruition.
Well, I agree, and then I disagree. Go figure.
I'm
What do you
shocked.
disagree about?
You're shocked.
What do you disagree about?
Well, it's and we talk about this all the time. If the path or the path to a development isn't reduced in time and brain damage that has such a direct impact on the cost of construction, on the cost of development, that there has to be a little bit, we talk about this green tape, red tape all the time, but there has to be some sort of assistance there to help get that through. Because if we can reduce the timeline, bring stuff to market, A, it's going to be a little cheaper, and B, we're going to end up bringing inventory to the market. I was caught a little off guard yesterday on the show because I didn't really look at Lake Monticello, and I ran the numbers this morning, and thank you for Dan Pennant for making me take a look at this. I'm shocked, and for whatever real estate agents are watching right now, I've been there since 1987. There are 6 homes available at Lake Monticello right
Out
now.
of how many total?
4,300.
Think about that, folks.
I
6
don't
homes.
think I've ever seen that number before, so I'd love some agents, Dan or whoever, to do that. To me, Lake Monticello, a healthy inventory. We learned this from a couple of real estate agents that we work out there, the Gunnels, Maggie Gunnels in particular, and I agreed with her, somewhere around, 1% is normal. That's just to put that in perspective. 1% is 43 homes. 6 homes. I mean, that's just, and the most cost-effective one is $240,000, ranging from $240 to $558, which is a waterfront lot.
Brian Sherling on Twitter right here says, Jerry, bring up what you said yesterday about Buckingham County to Quinton Beckham, please. This is what I said yesterday on the program. Buckingham County has got land that's ready to be developed. Let's cut to the chase. It's a little bit far from the epicenter from employment, but not that far. And the prices are reasonable. Quinton Beckham, is Buckingham County going to be hot?
When has it not been in the time period? Everything's a matter of what's hot for the locality you're in. It's all a measure of relativity. I think all of our outlying counties have an opportunity that is before them. We've seen it happen in Nelson. We've seen other things go down. You're seeing a low inventory in Fluvanna. I don't see any reason it would not continue to spread. It's a matter of if the counties and the municipalities take advantage of it and create product. If you have product, this is a market that it will sell.
I just want to quantify my numbers real quick. I just looked for the last 30 days.
Hello, Maggie Gunnels. Welcome to the program.
Maggie, we're just talking about you. That's just the last 30 days. So within the last 30 days, 6 came on the market. And let's face it, if it's been on the market right now at Lake Monticello for over 30 days, there's probably something not right there on that end of it, because the median sales price right now, the median sale time right now, and hold on a second, folks, I will get to my sheet so I can read my numbers right. It's 5 days on market. It's median days on market
In
Lake Monticello.
In Lake Monticello.
In Lake Monticello. So it's.
So what do we do to get people to list homes? What do we do to get inventory in the market? We know new construction's not going to happen anytime soon. New construction is not going to happen anytime soon, not to a point that's going to put a dent in the inventory dilemma we have. This seems like a branding and marketing issue. I'm an advertising guy. The encouragement of people listing homes. Obviously, the dilemma you have is if they sell their homes, where the hell are they going to go next?
Yeah, and this is why you have real estate agents. This is why you have realtors and people that you want to trust, because you need to step into it with a plan.
Yeah.
I think if I were talking to sellers, I would have 2 pieces of advice. And the first one is, don't assume that the market is desperate enough that you can put a home on in any condition without having somebody go through it, and that it will sell in that 5-day median. Medians can be deceptive, because medians could be 5 that are 1s and 2 that are in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Sure. And so you do need to have somebody go through it. The home needs to be well set up. It needs to be well marketed, and it needs to be at a price point that's within the range. And I think the second thing is, before you put it on the market, before you toss that sign in the yard, you want to have a plan of what you're going to do next. And that needs to be well thought out, so that if you do everything right and it does sell in 5 days, you are not then scrambling and looking for the cheapest hotel room in town. So there is that.
We're moving in with the Smiths.
Do you encourage people to sell their homes and rent? You can sell your home, you can get top dollar, wait it out, and go rent for a little bit.
I know that's a thing that we talk about regularly on this show for reasons that befuddle me. But
you don't like the idea.
I don't think that I think that sits with the concept, by and large, in the vast majority of cases, that sits in the idea that your home is a commodity. And I do not like people treating their personal, individual, specific, one and only home as though it were a commodity.
Okay.
So yes, you might be able to, there might be the 1 in a million person that sold their home at the peak, pocketed $100,000, rented for a year, super cheap.
That's what got us into trouble in 2008.
But that's not how this generally works.
Yeah. The Glenmore Moms Group, welcome to the program. Keep going, Quinton Beckham.
So when you see at the rate at which rents are accelerating, everything that pressures us, that lowers inventory in the housing market, does so in conjunction with the rental market. These are tied economics.
Well, here's a practical perspective.
And so those rents are going up, and whatever you're going to gain on the house, you could easily lose in the next year or in the next 2 years if the inventory remains low and you can't find another house to buy.
Kathleen Glenn Matthews, we'll get to your comment here in a matter of moments. Smith, what you got?
Nothing. I agree 100% with Quinton. I always have on this issue. Try to find a rental, right?
There's more rentals than houses to buy, though.
But that's a very low bar.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a low bar, but it's a fact, though.
Proportionally, I would.
You think-
I would have to bring in.
You honestly think that there is more houses that are purchasable on the market right now than rentals on the market?
Well,
No,
I think
I'm saying the opposite. So if I just sold my house and the answer is I want to go rent, where am I going to rent?
There's more rentals than houses to buy.
But I think that's taking a fact that is true and turning it into a straw man.
Okay.
Because what we were talking about is it a good decision? Should we as realtors counsel somebody to put their house in the market high, sell it, and then go rent? And the answer to that is no.
Unless
the fact that
it's-
there's more rentals by sheer volume doesn't change that.
That's what I mean, by sheer volume.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's what we do. This is fun. This is a conversation. I can't speak specifically to that because I don't know the numbers, but I would like somebody to take a look at that and find out, because I hear from sellers, they're trying to find a rental and they can't. As far as I'm concerned, the best tool is to get your house on the market, get as much as you can for it, and try to do a lease back with it. And we're doing several of them at the moment.
So you take the lease back situation, sell your home, and lease it back, as opposed to selling your home and renting, which is basically the same concept.
It's exactly the same concept.
Yes, it's exactly the same concept.
But the difference is you're not moving out of your house. You're staying.
I think when you're
staying-
pushed, we have a variety of solutions when you're pushed. Somebody put their house on the market. They had another one that they were ready to put under contract. The minute their house went under contract, and they miss it by a day. Then we have some stopgap measures, and a leaseback would be one preferable to renting. You have a lot more control over the price. You're not moving twice, which there's hidden costs in that. There's storage fees. There's utilities being connected. So as a plan B to having a place to go to, you can do a leaseback. But I still think that's a little far afield from the topic. If our inventory is down to 1.5 months of inventory,
That's where I wanted to go.
then to say that that's not also having an effect on the rental market and your ability to find good rentals at a reasonable price is not
Realistic.
logical. It's not logical.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you there.
But plus you got to move twice.
Yeah.
So and we're having
You're going to have to make the comment, finding a mover in this market's going to be difficult. Supply chains are pinched. I totally get that. Ray Cadell, hello and welcome to the broadcast. He says it's an interesting time of year to be an empty nester. Quinton Beckham, jump in here.
I was reading Nicholas' comment about being a Marie Kondo enthusiast. So that he could, because he wants to move over and over and clear out everything and reorganize and just really be a minimalist with the amount of stuff. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Well,
with that for just
he's
a minute.
getting married, so that's not going to be realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, just cut to the chase. Get ready. That's not a realistic approach.
Nick-
Although I appreciate it, though.
All the space you create with your own stuff, you're just basically giving up.
Exactly.
You're giving it over for other stuff that you can't use.
And speaking from three people who've been in that space before, okay, so let me throw this to you here. We have to get to Kathleen's comment on Quinton Beckham's page. You think the projection of another 4% hike in construction costs for 2022 is accurate, gentlemen? I think it's going to be well higher than 4%.
I think that's a little on the low
Yeah,
side.
speaking from clients that we represent at VMV Brands, it's well higher than 4% in construction costs.
Yeah, I think maybe global, in the whole supply chain of a construction, you'll see some being 10, maybe 20% high, some a little bit on the flat end of it. But I think overall 4% is probably a low number.
No doubt.
I would think it's a low
QB?
number.
In the last 12 months, overall inflation is 5.4%. Number one of that is rental cars, 43% up, gasoline, 42%, used vehicles, 24.4%, transportation, 16.5%, like trucks to get all the goods to build houses, furniture, 11%, new vehicles, 8.7%, and appliances, 7%. And if you go to try and find an appliance right now, imagine the developer trying to find 100, because it's really hard to just buy an oven.
Yeah.
And feel like you have any sort of selection.
Our friend Christopher Bremen sold a home in the parade of homes in Old Trail without a garage door.
Yeah.
Put that in perspective.
Yeah, so
Nearly $1 million home without a garage door.
yeah, well, so this supply chain pinch, I've been through these a couple of times, and you figure out how to get it, and ultimately the client needed to move in without a garage door. It's not a
You just
CO,
wait for it.
CO, you put a little money in escrow, and then you kind of move on. But I just want to go back to the gas thing. We were talking about that yesterday. Actually, overnight at Lake Monticello, when I gassed up, when I picked up Yonna from the train station, actually went down 10 cents. It was, when I left in the morning, it was $3.45. When I came home, it was $3.35. And the good news is I forgot to fill it up in the morning because
So you saved money.
I saved money.
Yeah.
I got in trouble though a little bit.
Yonna wasn't happy with that.
And I think
Because we went through this whole.
I remember. You also let Forrest out of the fence.
and I think
I
to,
didn't let Forrest. He escaped.
Okay, Houdini.
to go back to the new construction comment, I think it's reasonable that if inflation overall is 5%, we would see more than a 4% rise
Agreed.
in construction
Definitely.
costs.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you should balance that against the one price point that has consistently come down in our market reports is new construction. Look at the median price of new construction quarter over quarter for the last 4 years, and it's come down significantly based on the products they're putting up. So
Correct.
is
So
there
let's
going,
explain that. So there's.
is there going to be a price hike per square foot, which is a lousy metric, but let's use it for a second.
You hate price per square.
Oh, God, I
I
hate
do.
it.
It's a made-up thing.
I hate it.
It's a made-up thing to water us down and deceive us and think we're comparing apples and apples. So, yes, there's going to be costs baked into building a new house because there's no other way to get the materials to build the house. But we're still needing more options, and so I think it's still a ways to go if you can get higher density.
That's exactly right. So the reason why the construction costs globally have went down, if you took a look at the difference between the single-family detached and the attached units, you'll see some very different numbers. But the attached product, which is obviously cheaper, has been driving that total new construction number down. I think the single-family detached numbers, particularly in Albemarle County, it's pretty hard to find a new construction, frankly, that doesn't have an 8 in front of it, if not more than an 8 in front of it on that end of it. Interesting. So I was digging through the report, one from the Virginia Realtors, and you were talking about quarter over quarter. Just to put it in perspective, third quarter 2021, this is total dollar value in the car footprint was $612 million. In 17, it was 394.
You're talking about sold volume?
Sold volume.
Yeah.
So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, pretty much not quite doubled, but awfully close to it.
Yep.
And double it in size.
Donna Patton, we'll get to your comment here.
Donna.
Nicholas Erpy, we'll get to your comment. Brian, we'll get to your second comment on Twitter here in a matter of moments. I will say this. We represent a developer who's building a neighborhood in northern Albemarle off Prophet Road called Prophet Ridge. And the interest into land purchasing in Prophet Ridge has never been higher than right now. I mean,
I think he sold out, didn't he?
people almost nearly sold out. The people chomping at the bit, waiting in line to purchase these parcels of land that are considerable acreage and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And that's a direct reflection of no homes to buy in the market. Undoubtedly a direct reflection. So Ray Cadell's got this. I have 2 new construction listings coming to the market shortly, just as soon as we can figure out what it's really going to cost to finish them, which I think that's a crystal ball that you need to have to figure that one out. Donna Patton for Keith and Quinton, what about the increase in multi-generational homes?
Oh, you want to tackle that?
We're just seeing it all over the place, honestly. And I think that is when we talk about what's restricting listings coming on the market, there's a lot of things. One slice of that pie is I'm no longer downsizing. I'm just moving more of my family into the rooms I'm not using anymore. So, Ray, that empty nester thing, you were just saying, yay, it's a great time to be an empty nester.
Not so much.
Don't say that online too much because you're just putting it out there that you've got all this spare room.
His mom just moved in with him
So I
from
think
Florida.
I think you've got a lot more opportunity to see generations compacting, and it's really just sort of another economic shift. Go back in time when women entered the workplace as a way to pump up household incomes. We're doing the same thing. We're just doing it across generations and outside of the typical relationship structure that you think of.
Nicholas Erpy would love to hear the thoughts on this. A brother of mine's realtor recommended buying square footage rather than renovating. I'm not sure what this means. Footage.
Are you saying that he wanted his client to add on square footage to his house rather than selling this one to buy another bigger house?
Is that okay. You think that's what he's saying?
And so I think that's a granular, if that's what you're saying.
Well,
You know,
so that would be
If I need a fourth bedroom, add it instead of buy it.
But to counter that, find a remodeler or someone in the new construction game that can add square footage to a house right now. I mean, you're talking about people that are booked 10 months in advance right now.
Sure.
Minimum.
Sure.
10 months in advance.
Well, and so the reason they're doing it and they're looking at this is because I believe, and somebody can double check this, around 24% of the sales in the last 12 months were nationwide. Were these multi-generational homes? Look, let's face it. My father, mother, father. We're having this conversation right now about, well, does it make sense to move in with us? I need somebody to cook dinner. No, I'm only kidding. So, to move in with us, because where are they going to go, right? They're in their 80s. Where are they going to go? The health, thank God, is in great shape. But we're really seriously having that conversation. Now, our house is designed enough to do that, but that's probably a lot of that.
And I think when you're looking at individual situations, there's
Sure.
a whole lot of granularity. So
Sure.
you might buy something that is not an already perfectly done house. It's older, it needs remodeling anyway, and you're saving $40,000 off the top of the market price, and you're going to turn around and put that $40,000 into remodeling the house, updating the kitchen and the bathrooms, and making it what you want. There's a lot of opportunity for granularity between the more umbrella statements that we're making.
everything is specific to your needs.
This is why you need a trusted counselor.
Trusted advisor. This is why you need a trusted advisor to help you through that. Because
how about this one? From Kelsey. Do realtors offer counsel on home remodeling projects?
You want me to tackle that?
I don't think you guys want to go into that Pandora's box, my friend.
Well, I actually do, because I'm a Class A general contractor, so I actually can have this conversation. And I think the question might be is where the market is right now. Should I spend $50,000 to renovate a kitchen now, or should
50K?
I'm just picking a number.
Okay, that's 100 plus to renovate a kitchen.
Just picking a number.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Should I put X into renovating my house? And will I get it out of it? We had this conversation the other day. What's the normal return on investment in these kind of
What's
things?
the best ROI on a project at home? Do you remember? I know.
Landscaping. Landscaping is a one-to-one return in all the studies.
No, do you know,
Garage door.
what's number two? Garage door is right. You know what number two is?
Front door.
The front door. The front door and the garage door drive the best return on
Landscape
investment
is
for a
close
project.
up there. And but that garage door has been 2 years running, by the
That's
way.
right.
2 years running.
That's 100% right.
I don't.
I don't have a garage.
I think if you put 100K plus into a home remodeling project,
But you got to look at the ROI. If I'm doing it? If I'm doing it to sell, so that's maybe the difference of the question. If I'm doing it to stay, then you have to do the ROI. Just like if you're going to refinance a home and it's going to cost you 2% or 1% or whatever it's going to cost you to do it. How long am I going to stay in the home to recover that expense?
I think if somebody steps into the room and says, I want to remodel a house, probably not a real estate agent, or not most of us, because
Sure.
we want to be the source of the source for those sorts of things. And so I would connect you to somebody that was a Class A contractor, that clients of mine had used that did do remodeling that they were happy with. Me telling you how to remodel, you don't want me to tell you how to remodel.
Yeah, I wasn't encouraging
Yeah.
that at all.
If, on the other hand, you're walking in and saying, I've got a house with $100,000 in equity, I can either cash out that equity and buy this $500,000 house, or I can do a HELOC and remodel my house. What are my options if I were to buy up? We can help work through that process and see if it meets your needs. I do think most of our buyers nowadays, when you've got an inventory of 1.5, if you've got a list of 10 things you really want, assuming that money is an issue, we all know that the price of the house is an issue, so let's just agree that that's there. The other 9 things, you may not get all of them on a new construction home. You may not get all of them on a resale. You may have to pick your top 5, your top 4. And so I think working with somebody else to sort of go through what's my goal in buying this house? What do I really need versus what do I want? helps you make the decision about where that $100,000 is the most valuable.
Let me
to
turn
you.
the question around a little bit. Deferred maintenance, right? So my roof is beyond its life. My HVAC is beyond its life. You know, the questions that we receive as real estate agents, you know, should I make these repairs now? Should I lower the price? Should I keep the price done on that? So if you are approached, a seller's approaching on that, and we're walking through it, and the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm seeing a couple of transactions that are getting a little wonky at the end of it because people are paying top dollar for the house, and then going, well, hold it, time out. I've got to put a $15,000 roof. I know that because I just put one on my house. On that end of it, I've got to replace both my HVAC systems. I know I just did it. They're $8,000 a piece on both of that stuff. Hold it, time out. I'm going to go to new construction because I can buy something a little bit more expensive, but it's good for another 20. I don't have to take care of my deferred maintenance. So, I mean, is there the source of the source? Is the trusted advisor? What do we tell the buyer to lower the price, do the work? I know it's a case by case basis, but any thoughts on that?
I think it's a case by case basis. You know, it depends on how much cash is going into the deal. If it's a big system, if you're my buyer or client, and we're under contract already, and we find out the air conditioning is 25 years old, and I don't know how I wouldn't have known that up front.
I was going to say.
But let's say it's 20 years old and it's going to have to be replaced.
I test people.
It would depend on the buyer's situation as to what's best for them. Do we have the ability to get cash back for them to choose the person that replaces it? Is that something that we've got room for in the loan? Is this a cash deal where I can just drop the price? Is there no room for it and they've spent every last penny and they must have this particular house? And so I'm going to try and get the seller to fix it for us and let them keep their price? There's so many permutations to that question, and it all boils down to what's best for the individual client, which is why we have a fiduciary, which is why you want a realtor, and you want them in the middle of it, is they can help you navigate all of that and often achieve things that you didn't think you could.
Little hint on how to know how old an HVAC unit is, and you probably know this, but all you got to do is look on the outdoor unit, on the serial,
It's so easy.
and the actual date.
Walk around the house and look at the units when you're considering making an offer.
Well, you got to look at the unit.
Do you see what happens when you do a for instance here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the eye test.
This is what I want to get to.
Oh, please no dad jokes. Please no dad jokes. Go ahead.
But hold on a second, because some units don't have a number on it, right? So you actually kind of have to Google it and do that. But typical units will have a serial number on it.
You can eye test a unit and tell its age.
I'll tell you though, we sound really dark and negative about the housing market, and if you're a buyer watching right now, you're probably thinking, crap,
good. Thank you
I'm
for
just going to
saying
go in my hard-to-find rental and hide. And
Grace Haynes says hello. Gracie
hello.
Haynes.
Hello, how are you, Gracie?
And Michael Beckham, is that your nephew?
That is my nephew.
Hello, nephew.
And we're not too many days from Kathleen Glenn's birthday, so happy pre-birthday.
There we go.
There's still a lot working in your favor. Yes, prices are up, but mortgage rates matter more than prices. And even with what we're looking at climbing, mortgage rates are still going to be 3.5% or less for the next 5 or 6 months. In terms of gaining equity in your house, you're a first-time home buyer, you're just wanting to own one home, this is the mortgage rate to do it at.
Oh my God.
Work through the process, work with a trusted advisor, work with somebody that's done this a lot, pre-do all of your lending stuff so that you know it before you go fall in love with the house. It's a great time to do it in spite of some of the prices because the mortgage rate matters more than the price of the house for your long-term equity.
Why is that?
Because it makes a bigger difference in how quickly you
Paying less
accumulate
interest.
the equity. You're paying more towards the principal in every payment.
So
and
we
you
were
will pay
talking
it
about
down
inflation
faster.
in the beginning of this. What's the best way to hedge against
Hedge
inflation?
real estate.
Is buy a home.
Yep.
So we were talking about, thank you for doing that, Mr. Beckham. We were talking about Lake Monticello. There's only 6 units on the market in the last 30 days, but 24 people are under contract and 26 sold in the same 30. So people are buying and selling homes. Even though the inventory is low, it's still happening. It is still absolutely the best time to do this. I paid 18%. I don't know what your number was.
My first one was 6 and an
was
eighth.
six and an eighth.
Bills at Southern Ridge.
It's interest rates are climbing up. We're over 3% at the moment, but now is the time to do it.
I don't disagree. And it's one of the few costs that you have control over.
Exactly right.
If you drive one of those older cars that still uses gas, you're always going to need gas. And if you have children, you're going to have food on the table.
It's true.
Which is why you shouldn't have them. They're expensive. It's not worth the tax write-off. The Irpies will just totally verify that what I'm saying is true.
You know what's more
He has
expensive
3
than them?
kids.
You know what's more expensive than children?
Grandchildren?
Oh my God.
Grandchildren are not more expensive than children.
You want to bet?
Yes, I do want to bet. I'll take that bet any day of the week.
Let me see. I'll talk to you in 20 years from now.
Do you pay your your grandchildren's medical bills?
Well,
Did you pay for Harry's pregnancy and the delivery? No,
I
you did not.
I paid.
You buy them Christmas gifts and take the train up there.
Yeah.
There's a reason
And the
when we
dog
talk.
escapes. It's a horrible thing.
There is a reason when we talk about generational wealth, we're talking about home ownership, because it outlasts all these other things that fluctuate on a much faster scale. And so just know, if you're out there and you're listening to this and it sounds really dark in terms of your home ownership opportunities, you shouldn't be walking away with that. You should be walking away with the idea that things are possible and that you can fix a cost with a really low rate.
Those are the comments I love, Nicholas Irpy, from you. Quinton Beckham, which of the... He says, which of the two Irpy brothers? So he immediately discluded himself. Nicholas, that's the kind of stuff I love from you. Which of the Irpy brothers would Quinton remove?
One, Neil is right. Real estate is a better investment than children. And I think we should determine trial by combat. I think there should be a series of tests.
Trial by combat.
What was that?
My money's on Nicholas if it's trial by combat. That guy's feisty.
Well, he'll cheat.
Yeah, Neil Williamson says, as Quinn just said, real estate is better investment than children. Jesus.
It's true.
So I'm so glad that you, not the children part on that end of it, and being a grandparent, I have to tell you, is absolutely, hand down, the best thing ever. Absolutely love it. But I had a conversation with a couple of young people over the weekend.
They weren't your grandchildren, were they?
No, they weren't
Okay.
my grandchildren. You mean little baby Yoda?
Yeah.
No. She's at 10 months, or 8 months. She's smarter than all of us. But I had this conversation because we were same thing. I was asked, is this really the right time to buy? I'm renting right now. Is really the right time to buy? And I went into my speech that I normally give that, owning is the best way to hedge against inflation. And it was two separate couples, very smart people, and they said, no, it's not. My mortgage payment goes up just like my rent every 4 to 5% a year, and I was shocked when I heard that. And then we spent a bunch of time in explaining to them how this works. Now, your principal and interest, actually how an amortization table works.
Well,
and actually,
it depends on the mortgage structure. I mean, if they have a 3 or 5 year ARM, their mortgage payment could go up.
Yeah.
But if it's a 30 or 20 fix, it ain't moving.
Yeah, and I know we do dozens, we do 30, 40, 50 plus transactions a year. I cannot tell you the last time I was part of a 15-year mortgage. It's either cash or 30. I don't, just from our world, I don't see it. I know that, but you're a unique individual.
A unique individual.
But the point is I had to have the conversation about your principal and interest locks. Now, what does change, right, is your taxes. And what does change is your insurance. That's potentially changes. And I went through this thing and we mapped out that if you move the house and you stay in the home for 10 years and you move out and you pay an extra $100 a month or one of these lattes on that end of it, this is how much extra money you made. And they were shocked. And they were shocked. And we actually looking at houses with the two couples because they got excited about it.
Your nephew he says that's probably property taxes increasing the payment.
It could be property taxes. It could be a variety of things.
Well, it's typically property and it's either property or insurance.
So, and Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you manage to make one extra mortgage payment every year, maybe you use your tax return, you can reduce the 30-year mortgage by
To like 19.
by eight.
It's 2 extra.
2 extra?
It's 2 extra, yeah. It's 2 extra.
You can cut it more than in half.
Yeah.
Michael Beckham, we love when you watch the program here. So, gentlemen, what are we going to do here? Quinton Beckham
I want to do dad jokes, but you won't let
is
me.
doing the Mary Reiber, welcome to the program. Nikki Hernandez,
Mary.
welcome to the show. You're doing the media parade. You're in the TV shows, the TV stations, this show, newspaper. You're doing a hell of a job as car president.
36 days.
36 days, my friend. Arguably one of the most
Probably a little less than that because it's halfway through the day, right? 35 and a half.
I was rounding up.
arguably the most challenging presidency during a pandemic. I mean, you had a pandemic, and you're a president during a pandemic. Okay, that's not an easy task, dude.
Yeah, but let's be clear. It's not like I was president of a country.
Of the United States.
I
but
wasn't
still.
governing a state. I wasn't president of a hospital.
You don't marginalize your efforts. You did a hell of a job.
Don't do that.
You did a hell of a
Do not do
job. So, president of CAR, you're going to pass the torch to Pam Dent, who's watching the program now. What's the advice you're going to give Pam Dent?
Ooh, great question.
Oh, I think the same advice that I took from Tom, and that's that you're surrounded by all of these really good and smart people. Listen, pay attention. And we started talking about this when we had our first push in the realtor community about equity, 2 years ago. And there's so much to learn when we talk about equity, when we talk about affordable housing with a capital A, and it's a lot to take in, and it's hard to know what is the right next step and where to lead next and where to push next. And so sometimes your biggest asset is to use any sort of influence you have and just keep saying it over and over and over to smooth the path, to support the people who have done the work, that are educated in doing this, that are going to make better decisions than you, and keep pushing those things forward. And I think sometimes as leaders we get confused and think we have to have all the answers. And I think the best leaders just know the right questions, and you keep asking and pushing and asking and pushing over and over and over, and other people fill in that space and those gaps. So if there is anything amazing, if 5 years from now somebody looks back and says, that car president back then did this really great thing, I want you to know that's a misnomer. It was me and 8 other people, and I mostly cheered from the sidelines while they actually played the game and did the work.
Well
played.
Leadership requires 2 things. You got the first half of it. The second half of it is knowing the right people to do the job, right? Finding it's finding the right people that in there and get it done. And we talk about it on the show all the time. We are beating our chest. We're on the top of the soapbox, screaming to the top. But more people need to get involved. More people need to go ahead and do that. So. After 35 and a half days, what's next for Mr. Beckham?
Well, then I'll be past president. I remain on the board for 1 more year as past president. There's a couple sort of figurehead things that go along with that. Interesting, but not nearly as central to stuff as being president. I am going to be on the Virginia Association board of directors.
Congratulations.
For the Virginia Association of Realtors, along with Denise Ramey, who's president this year. Mm-hmm. Who's also from our locality, so it's nice to have Charlottesville
She's got a
people
great
represented
website,
there.
Denise Ramey.
Really, she said it was really hard, the guy she had to work with.
Ooh.
No, she did not say that.
And
But think about that. How many people are on the VR board?
yes, what are we up? What is it, Denise? 20, 24?
I'll tag her. Let's get Denise Ramey in
And the
mix. I'll
reason
send her a
I
text.
throw that out there, there's at least going to be. How much representation does Little Charlottesville have on that board? Pretty substantial, at least 2, right?
At least 2.
Yeah, on that, and that's a testament to Charlottesville Association of Realtors. That's a testament to the 12. I mean, how many realtors we have? 1,200, 1,300 members on that end of it. We are super engaged as a group in here. I think more so than most jurisdictions. I may be wrong, but it feels like we are more engaged in it, and that's one of the beautiful things about being from this area.
And I know a lot of individual realtors that are engaged, and certainly in our area, you can list off the ones we've had on this show promoting charities that they find near and dear to their heart. or events. There's AHIP that we support. They're all out there. I do think one of the big advantages to having an association is there's things we can do as brokers and realtors in association that would be really difficult and less effective to do by ourselves.
Totally.
And so they're
I think that's called collective bargaining.
sometimes
in numbers.
Sometimes it's collective bargaining, but it's also between antitrust and the way that we operate together in the association, you can bring to bear
Like
the
what you
weight
guys are doing with
of 1,000
healthcare.
realtors
Healthcare is a good example.
to push together. Healthcare is one thing. I was thinking more of car. The food bank and all of the support it got through the darkest parts of the pandemic when it needed it the most. AHIP, the list goes on and on and on. Coming up will be Salvation Army and the Angel Tree. And so I think if you pay attention, these are certainly car is an industry that is really invested in its community, that really wants to support its clients around the transaction and in the community. And it's not all about closing that next deal, certainly not when we all come together.
How about Andre Xavier's question? We love you, Andre Xavier, on the question, on the show on this network. Andre says, wild question, fellas. How about barn dominium on our rural areas? Aren't they more affordable to build? First, we need to explain what that is.
Yeah. That's the first
You know what that is?
I do not.
What is barn dominium? I don't know what that is either.
I'm picturing stacked goats. I have no idea what a barn dominium is.
I would imagine it's a barn meets a condo,
Is it?
hence the barn dominium, condominium and barn dominium.
So we're taking an existing barn and turning it into a condo?
Is
that
it
what we're
cheaper
doing?
to build? I'm actually Googling this. Is it cheaper to build a house or a barn dominium? Barn dominiums are on average cheaper than a house. Traditional homes cost around $115 to $145 per square foot. That is way low, Google. It's nowhere near $115 to $145. You're flirting with $300 a square for new construction right now, and that's probably in the low end. Where barn dominiums cost between $70 and $100 a square. What is a barn dominium, Andre Xavier? I do not know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to ask that when we bring them on the show, because
So I'm assuming it's repurposing a barn,
I think
into a
that's what it
structure where
is.
people can live, whether it's multiple or what.
Yeah.
So whether it's a barn or, Nashville has Printer's Alley, where the old print shops are now places you live. I think what we're talking about, though, is density. And density is an important feature of creating affordable housing, connecting the infrastructure that already exists,
We should go down that road.
on increasing the tax base without increasing the individual's taxes, and allowing more affordable housing while not diminishing the value of somebody's single-family home.
You talked about that in the Daily Progress article that was written by Allison Rabel, I believe. Was it Allison?
It was Allison, and she was
Yeah.
lovely to talk with. I hope I
Allison
get to
did
talk to her again.
Allison, in fact, I'll tag Allison on this. Let's talk about that. So, CAR, and I don't want to speak out of turn. You guys are board of directors and you're the president. So I'm just going to throw this out there. My job is to keep the conversation flowing and going. CAR, Charlottesville Albemarle Association of Realtors, is very much in approval of FLUM, of the flex use land map and increasing density in the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Is that safe to say? Can I say that? Is that accurate?
Say it one more time, because I was only half paying attention to you.
Charlottesville Albemarle Association of Realtors is very much a proponent and in favor of the flex use land map and increase in density.
At the risk of sounding a little bit picky, remember that the land map is really
Future
just
land use map.
The future land use map is a suggestion to help guide the process of redoing the zoning regulations. In a broader sense, and Neil, I'm sure, can chime in and
He's
make this
watching,
even
and so
better.
is Julia Roberts.
In a brighter sense, we are always in favor of people having multiple housing options, and options for all, which includes rentals and a variety of other kinds of homes, from single family to condominium, in a price point they can afford.
more housing choices.
So in our current market, there's a little more of a red light surrounding that statement, just in the sense that we are so far behind. Whether I'm in favor of a specific part of the land map or not, I am in favor of there being more housing units and them being more affordable, and I don't see how to get there without increased density.
Julia, okay, so your thoughts on that topic here. Before we do, Julia Roberts of,
Oh, Fulton Bank.
we love you, Julia Roberts. We love Fulton
Or
Bank.
Pretty Woman. depends which one is on.
They're both pretty women.
They're both pretty women.
Julia
There you
Roberts says for Andre Xavier, there are no comparables in the market, so therefore it would be hard to get financing for a barn dominium project. Julia Roberts.
Rock on.
Kudos and props. You just helped us with that one. Flex, I always get this messed up. Future land use map. And basically, it's upzoning and adding more density to the city in Albemarle County. Keith Smith, Realtor, yes or no?
Yeah, so we really should drop the F out of that, by the way. It's just a land use map. All jurisdictions call it the land use map. I don't know where the future of the F ever came into it, other than they just wanted to sound really cool with a flum on the end of it. Look, I mean, my position on this is pretty clear. More housing choices for all is a good thing.
You've been reading the Free Enterprise Forum.
I read it I think he pipes it into my hearing aids at night, and it's like this whole subliminal thing, and it comes into it. But I truly believe that. I would not have put the hours and hours and hours of time that I put in if I didn't truly believe that more housing for all helps all. Now, in saying that,
Neil's watching. He's got a comment on this for you,
well,
gentlemen.
I'm sure he does. Now, in saying that, I'm also sensitive and understanding to the folks who, he's laughing.
Yeah, because you're you're doing the political thing.
Well, I deal with.
You're hedging.
I deal with a lot of politics on that, but we have to respect somebody else's opinion, right? Personally, I think more housing for all is good for all, but I also understand why some people may not be.
And I really do think it's, there's our. I think it's an intrinsic human desire to say, do this thing because this is the fix. There is no one fix to the affordable housing problem that presents us. We need a variety of things to happen. What's the term? Silver buckshot?
Neil Williamson just put that
We
in
need
there.
a variety of things to happen. There is no one fix. So
It says Carr has not taken an official position on Charlottesville's future land use map.
Yeah.
Carr is in favor of silver buckshot affordable housing options.
Mr. Robert
Neil, I love
Liberty.
that we're psychically connected like that. Thank
Neil
you.
Williamson, right there. That's
We have to give a shout out to Robert Liberty at Portland State University, where I stole that silver buckshot. I had the same conversation with real estate agents over the weekend, some elected officials over the weekend, and they were concerned about one particular type of fix being the fix. Everybody fixating around whatever this one fix might be. And then we went into, there is no silver bullet, there's a silver buckshot, the Land Trust Habitat, AHIP, all these.
UVA's participating now.
UVA's
working towards participating in a solution or a part of one.
Yeah, but that solution with UVA is a decade away, unfortunately.
So the UVA is engaged. Let's try this way, because I'm on the.
Fair.
I'm on it. They are engaged in it. They are very clear. They are not going to be the ones solving it. The only way they're going, and this is
donate land.
Is donate land
Yeah.
and work through it on time, which is a huge thing. Without the land, you can't do anything. So it's huge on that end of it. And go back to Mr. Miller. I'm not trying to waffle it or hedge it or whatever, but we do, in order for us, Mr. Beckham is on the sell side, I'm on the buy side. We've done this in our careers together. Our clients both feel very differently about this cup of coffee, and we're trying to get it to close, right? And the only way I need to do this, I need to understand Mr. Beckham's clients' concerned about it so we can help get to the middle of the table and close. So you've got to understand the other side. You have to communicate with them. On my personal opinion, in this case, housing for all is absolutely the best.
This is, I don't want to speak for you guys, okay? Just the guy that has a microphone. There's no housing inventory on the market.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to help solve the housing inventory crunch. This more supply is going to lead to potentially more affordable prices. And frankly, you guys are in the business of selling homes.
Yeah.
If you have more homes to sell, Carr's going to do better.
Well, your neighborhood, right? A project that was in your neighborhood went to 80 units.
Oh, outside my neighborhood.
outside
Breezy
your,
Hills outside.
I
Glenmore.
apologize, outside your neighborhood, it's going to go to 80 units. They're all going to be top-end price points. If it would have gotten approved in a higher density, there would have been a wider supply of product, which would have drove down the construction costs globally, because they're now doing townhomes. Instead, they're going to be pretty large, single-family detached homes, which is, it is what it is.
And they're going to sell all day, every day.
They will, I can assure you, but the moment they're able to sell those,
They're going to sell before they're finished.
they're going to sell before the subdivision is
Yeah, he will sell out with paper houses.
I had a
You wait and see.
I know it. So I had a conversation with Mr. Frank Bailiff a couple of weeks ago on a couple of projects on the north and over by Belvedere, which they haven't even broken ground yet, and he's got 50% of the units sold. They're projecting 2022 closes. Some of them are projecting 2023 closes. I've been doing this for 3 decades. I've never seen that happen before. But more is better. It helps everybody. But that's just my 2 cents.
I think more is better.
And a
And
microphone.
if you read through the stuff, we were talking about housing permits. So we have all these housing permits that are up, and a lot of them are high-density housing permits. If you go to the Free Enterprise Forum and you read the white paper on density denied, you
Nicely
wonder
Well
how many of those multifamily units are going to make it from the blue line that they exist currently to houses that are open. And maybe UVA is 10 years away, but we're so far behind the curve on the housing inventory. I'll take all comers at this point, and build a house that's a quality house, and we will sell it, yes. But I think if we could have more density, we're so far behind, more units at a better price point, we need to do some catch up. Density is the best way to do that without overdoing your infrastructure. That's not a car position, that's just math.
Yeah. So take a little bit of, for sake of a talk show, I'll push back a little bit on that. Not that I necessarily believe it, but what about schools? What about transportation? If we start increasing that, this particular project we're talking that was outside on Eastern Albemarle
In
Keswick area. Thank you.
Breezy Hill.
More than likely, I suspect the buyer profile on that is going to be probably the folks moving out of Northern Virginia.
Definitely.
They retirees, maybe. More than
I
likely.
don't know if retirees need a home of that much square feet.
Man, I tell you what.
Talking 4 or 5 bedroom homes there.
What if they're being multi-generational?
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on that.
I think you're going to see a lot of 30s and 40s with kids in Breezy Hill. Upper 30s and 40s with kids. The same buyer profile that's moving into Glenmore.
Well, I just know we've doing a couple transactions in Glenmore and they're retirees out of Northern Virginia.
Well, that's because those are the smaller Stanley Martin homes at 2,000 and change square feet.
Yeah.
Those are made for retirees.
Yeah. So you think that's what they're going to build over there?
I think Breezy Hill is going to be, and we should ask Charlie and Frank. We should get them on the show.
I
I think because of how I gotta choose my words so carefully here. I think because of how the neighborhood association in Glenmore impacted the development of Breezy Hill, that Charlie and Frank have got to build homes that are larger footprint and size.
Because they need the money.
Because they have to cover the cost.
Yeah, sure.
The money. So you're going to see a lot of 4,000, 5,000 square foot homes that are 4 and 5 bedroom homes, which is not what Stanley Martin's doing in Glenmore.
No.
And I think
Because the lots are much smaller.
Right.
if we were sitting looking at this report and there was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months of supply, there might be a better reason to have a discussion of which houses are needed.
Sure.
Right now, they're all
Everything.
needed. There's not a house you can build that probably somebody wouldn't want to buy because we're at 1.5.
No doubt. And you can make a legitimate argument, and I'm not trying to do the doom and gloom here, but you can make the legitimate argument that 1.5 months of supply is going to diminish over the next 3 to 6 months. It's going to go potentially lower.
I would expect a spring. It may. It may, and I don't think the difference between 1 and 1.5 is really that stark. But let's suppose it goes down to 1. Spring's going to come around. We're going to have more houses come back on the market because that's what we do.
You think so?
Yes, I will bet you we do.
Okay.
So
Do I think it's going to be a glut? No. because there's not enough houses to have a glut, but it's going to be higher than 1.5.
You think 1 point? Yeah, I actually think we're going to see an uptick in inventory during the winter months. I don't think we're going to see a slowdown like we normally see. We'll find out. We'll have this conversation on January 1, but I just think it's.
We'll be drinking coffee, looking hungover on January 1st, talking about housing.
I love the 1st of January. 1st of January is
Confetti in our hair.
What do you like the 1st of January?
I mean, it's the start of another
There you
year
go.
where you can make anything happen. I mean, I'm a grab life by the you-know-what and make it do what you want kind of guy.
There you go.
Questions, comments, we'll welcome to the feed here. This one, can we talk Buckingham? Multiple folks are asking us to talk Buckingham, including the supervisor from Buckingham, Thomas Miles, who's going to come on the I Love CVille show next week. He wants some Buckingham
I would love to come
perspective.
back and talk about Buckingham.
Huh?
Mainly, I've been so invested in the overall market report, kind of hard for me to think about an individual county with a lot of granularity right now.
Well, is Buckingham in
I'm not ready for that.
But Buckingham isn't in our footprint.
We buy and sell houses there, but no, it's not.
It's
not. A part of
it's
the-
not in this report. That's the point I was trying
No.
to get.
Buckingham is not in the car footprint?
It's not in this report.
So is that in the Richmond footprint?
We can buy and sell anywhere in the state.
Well, I know you can't, but
But I know, that's a great question. I'd have to take a look at what MLS that's in.
anybody on the feed? Neil?
But it's not, I mean.
Pam?
this-
Maggie? Donna? Nikki? Paul? Ray?
But from a practical perspective, right, a practical perspective, we've all just agreed, at least amongst the three of us anyway, and Judah and Liza the dog, if we all just agreed more housing choices for all is a good thing, the market is expanding out, as far as new development. I know this on the first hand. Greene County, Fluvanna County, Nelson County, Louisa County, it's just going to end up kind of growing out a little bit. I think the big struggle with Buckingham, we talk about this all the time.
Is the drive and the roads.
Is Route 20, yeah. But, is it really that bad? I just came in.
It's not really that bad.
I just came in today from Antioch Glen. For those who know much about Fluvanna County's Rolling Road, which is, they call it Rolling Road because it's like a freaking roller coaster, is 10, as far as I'm concerned, as far as twisting and turning, worse than Route 20. From Antioch Glen Church to here, it took me 20 minutes.
South Central Association of Realtors is Buckingham. Neil Williamson, you're A-plus people.
Thank you.
President of Free Enterprise Forum. Buckingham County is in the South Central Association of Realtors. That MLS consists of Amelia, Brunswick, Buckingham, Charlotte, Cumberland, Lunenburg, Mecklenburg, Nottoway, Prince Edward, and the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
Very well done. This is a good comment for you, Quinton Beckham. Heather Walker. Charlottesville was the only locality in the region to see sales prices decrease compared to a year ago from $392K in 2020's third quarter to $385,628 this year. The third quarter drop likely reflects both a slowdown in upward pressure on prices and a change in the mix of homes sold in the city. That's what you said. She wants to know why that is for the city of Charlottesville. Why is this the only locality in the region to see sales prices decrease? That's a good question.
I think you just reached that pressure point, and it also depends on what came on the market. So to know, if you want to know specifically, one, it's not a huge drop. And we do expect, if you look at our seasonality, we expect prices to go down as we enter winter. So this is part of what leads me to believe we're trying to return to some sort of seasonality in our local real estate market. But to know specifically why those prices went down, you'd have to look and see the individual homes. I do think, and I've been saying it for a while now, the skyrocket climb of prices is coming to an end.
Yeah.
The way these reports look year over year, that's hard to see.
Yeah.
But if you look month by month by month, we're not achieving the same climbs in price that we were 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
So we constantly say this. This is not an impending pop. This may just be a little bit of air let out of the balloon. We're trying to get, the market is trying to get itself to a more balanced and equal market, which everybody at this table wants. Everybody out there in the real estate space wants it. The buyers and sellers want it. Maybe not the sellers. I think that, obviously if they can get a little bit more for their home, that's a good thing. But particularly the buyers, I think you're starting to see things balance a little bit. And, look, as you guys were talking, I was flipping through the sheets on all the jurisdictions because I'm old school. I got to print all this stuff out and look at it. The changes are not that drastic as I would thought they would be between 20 and 22. Just the overall third quarter sold volume in Albemarle County is pretty much even. It's just a little bit under actually of 2021. So it was 300 million in 2021. In 2020, it was 305 million in total volumes of dollar volume in sales, not broken down into it. So I expected to see bigger differences, and it's really not there. So to me, it's kind of balancing things out.
Mackenzie, where's the first-time home buyer going to go? Like my son's family.
Well, so that's how that conversation came up with us looking at the lake, right? And
I don't think that's an option.
Well, it is an option,
There's
but
6 units on the market,
and it's a very limited option on that end of it. And you're in the 260, 270. There's 3 or 4 at that price point in the mid twos, but then everything else is in the threes or the mid threes, 300,000.
QB.
There's 6 homes left, but there's 20 that sold that just haven't closed.
24 that has
24. So remember, there's that churn
Rotation
that's going
coming
on in there, and I think again, same advice I would have for every buyer: sit down, figure out your lending, make your list of the top 10 things you need, then cut it down to the top 5 things you really need.
Sure.
And then get a trusted advisor and go do a really systematic home search. Try not to lead with your heart. Yes, I want you to love the home. I want you to love where you live. And a lot of that is going to be in its affordability, its continuing affordability, and creating a sense of safety and some wealth for your family.
Just don't give up. These 2 couples I saw over the weekend, we're constant. That's why you need a trusted advisor. We're constantly looking. We're constantly talking to them. I talked to both of them on the way in to the show today. We were talking about Lake Monticello, and we have tools that are available to us that we can send out, instant notifications once it comes on with Paragon. But you got to stay in the game because that 3% is going to be 4% soon, and the amount of houses you can buy is going to kind of decrease a little bit on that. And most folks, as we know, buy to their monthly payment, not necessarily the purchase price. But I took a note. We will on Monday, on the Monday Market Monitor, we'll dig in some stats for Buckingham because we just don't have it in our.
Well, and there's a project right on the. Is it Blenheim Road? There's a project coming right off Blenheim Road that I believe has 25 to, it's right next to Scottsville, that has 25 to 30 units that's coming on the market. So, clearly the market is pushing that way. And as I identified on yesterday's Monday Market Monitor presented by Allied Property Management and
Closure Title,
that when the Sutton boys start buying shopping centers and building, fuel centers and car washes, the smart money's going that way, then you should follow the smart money. And that's exactly what Tiger Fuel's doing, guys. So just something to consider. I think that's going to be the next hot spot. But I'm just a guy with a microphone. Quinton Beckham's the president of the car. And he's looking,
I'm just listening.
He's looking quite sharp over there with his new sports coat over there.
It's a year old. It's not new anymore.
I know. I'm just giving you some props.
My car's new, and it sounds like it would be fun to drive along Rolling Road.
That would be true. So you're going to move out there?
Oh, no. I just want to take a drive.
You don't want to come out where I live. What are you, crazy?
I
I actually had some dad jokes that I got the kick under the table not to do, so we will save that for some other joke. But they were.
All right, you want to do a
No, I do not
jokes?
want to do dad jokes.
Give us your best dad joke.
I don't.
I know you're passionate about the dad jokes.
No, I'm not.
When did this happen? Have I been gone that long? We've moved on to dad jokes.
He
We
likes
move-
dad jokes.
I like dad jokes.
I like to humor him on the show here. What's your best dad joke over there?
Oh,
You
I
gotta
don't know.
find it.
Now I got to find it now.
Oh,
you
man,
just
got
put
so many pieces of paper over there.
you put me. Well, I'm not sophisticated like you
Killing
two
the
guys.
trees over there. What's your best dad joke?
Why did the melons get married? Why didn't the melons get married?
Why didn't
Didn't the melons get married?
Tell us, why didn't the melons get married?
Because they cantaloupe.
They cantaloupe. Judah,
Forget about it.
why didn't the melons get married?
Okay,
'Cause they
so much for the
cantaloupe.
dad jokes.
They cantaloupe. There we go. I don't mind that joke. That's a good joke, Keith
No,
Smith.
it was a horrible joke, but thank you for saying it anyway.
Any,
I'm going to put my papers away.
Any final closing thoughts? Poignant perspective from 35 and a half day left president of CAR, QB, Quinton Beckham.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. So, if you need to take a break, take a break. But if you are searching for that perfect home, don't give up. And I would just like to warn him with all of his papers that there's some UN agreement to stop deforestation, and this may affect your ability to print.
Yeah. Well,
Keith Smith.
it is one of my ways I deal with my attention deficit syndrome, and so I need papers in front of me. Yeah, so 100% right. Don't give up. We as realtors on the buyer side, that's what we spend a lot of time coaching and mentoring our buyers through the process. Don't give up, and as Quinton said, there may be in the last 30 days only 6 units came on, 24 went into pending, 26 sold. So that means things are being bought and sold. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. 100%. If you have 10, maybe 5, you might get down to 3 on that end of it. But still, at this point, the best way to build generational wealth is to own a home.
Neil Williamson's got a dad joke. Neil, you have 2 kids, right? A son and a daughter, I believe. Former offensive lineman for the William Mary tribe, his son. Here's the dad joke from the president of the Free Enterprise Forum. Are you ready? Why was the skeleton bummed on Halloween?
Because he had no body?
Did you read it?
No.
Because he had no body to trick or treat with.
all
He
the
had
other
no body.
all the other punchlines I could think of, we shouldn't say on air.
Oh, Quinton and Keith and Neil Williamson.
How can you tell it's a dogwood tree?
Tell us?
From the bark.
From the bark. There we go.
Oh, we could go into the dog jokes.
What's the dog joke you got?
Yeah, don't build a 10-foot gate and the dog.
What do you call a dog with no legs?
What?
Doesn't matter. He won't come anyway.
Oh! And on that note, this is the Tuesday edition of Real Talk on the I Love CVille Network with Quinton Beckham and Keith Smith on a glorious day to be alive.
Please vote.
Folks,
Please vote.
Go vote.
Vote. Good Lord, the polls, the numbers are concerning. Vote.
Can you update them?
The next results come out at noon. So
Can you do other jurisdictions? Or just Charlottesville?
I can probably figure out other jurisdictions, though the Charlottesville one's is
Yeah.
the one I'm following the
Yeah.
closest. Quinton Beckham, Keith Smith, Jerry Miller, Judah Whitcower, Eliza the dog. It's Real Talk. We will see you in 58 minutes. Thank you kindly for joining us this morning. Take care. Very nice. Very nice.
And I won't kill anyone.